Good afternoon, class. My name is Kevin Young, and I am your instructor for Introduction to Intercultural Leadership. And as promised a couple of days ago, this is the video to provide you with a snapshot of the course and to really give you some key tips on how to be successful in this course. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to share my screen. And you should recognize this. This is the course homepage to ILP 100. You don't need to worry about the S90, 91, 92. That's just different segments of students. And of course, this is, as I mentioned, Intro to Intercultural Leadership. And of course, a large component of this is reconciliation. So this is what the course homepage looks like. As we scroll down a little bit, there's the news forum, social forum, and course email, and then just each of the weeks. Straightforward. It's a very, very straightforward, well-designed course homepage where you shouldn't be hunting for information. So if we just click on the news forum, we've got welcome to the course. That's what I wrote on the 31st of August, then the introduction video to the course. And that's where I said that I would be putting together this video today. If we back out of there, click on social forum. You guys are absolutely free. I think there are about 60 students in this class. You're absolutely free to put anything that you want to within reason. Okay, it has to be legal. And ethical, et cetera. But you're free to share recipes on here or talk about student life or anything that you want to share. You can do that here. And one of the reasons that that's important is this course is asynchronous, meaning there's no set scheduled time for me to meet with you, the students. You guys do this independently of each other. There are no teams or groups in this course, and that is by design. It's by intent because it is an online asynchronous course. So it would be very difficult to try to partner people up, especially in different time zones, and it just becomes complicated. And therefore, because there are no teams, no groups, this social forum is one way to interact with each other. And as I said, you're free to talk about campus life or, really anything that you want to. And then, of course, the course email, right? Anytime you want to reach me, fire off an email. I try to get back to students within 12 hours. If it's not 12, it's almost certainly 24 because I do monitor very, very carefully. So there you go. So you can reach out to me anytime. Of course, the first tab is just important student resources. I invite you to go through that and just make sure you're aware of all of the resources the university has to provide. Week one, you click it, and you end up with a whole bunch of links. It's an instructor welcome letter, which talks a little bit about me and my background. By far, the most important document here is the course outline. So I'm going to open that in a second. The class introductions, where there's an opportunity for you to post a little bit about yourself, and many of you have already done that. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action. It's a wonderful article on the 94 calls to action. We have APA, American Psychological Association, and this is a methodology regarding how you write and how you source information. And there's a grading rubric as a guideline with regard to how I grade. Now, back to the most important document, the course outline. So you just click it, it's going to open up here. We're going to download it, and then we have the course outline. So if you give me just half a second here, because I have to make sure that you can see the outline. And now you can. What do we have? We've got the title of the course. We've got no class the week of October 13 to 20. We've got my email address here. We have the textbook that you do have to have. So if you haven't ordered it yet, you definitely want to. The textbook is called Our Shared Future. It was written in Manitoba, which is where I am. I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and so I'm about 6 hours away from Regina. And so you need to have the textbook, and it is not a 300 page or anything like that. It's a relatively short book, well written by multiple authors, which makes it very, very interesting, I find, and gives you very valuable information for the course and your journeys moving forward. Course objective. So this is an introductory seminar examining leadership theory and the skills required for future leaders to lead organizations, communities within a context of reconciliation. You'll assess your attitudes, biases, beliefs, and current leadership skills and create a leadership portfolio. And this is one of the reasons why you're asked to do some surveys, which I believe are in week 3 or week 4. It's to ask yourselves what you think leadership is, what it means to you, what are some of the important values of leadership, etc. But those leadership surveys also ask you to interview someone else. And one of the students had reached out to me and asked if you had to interview a manager or a supervisor, or whether you could interview someone in your community, someone in your family, a friend, whom you thought displayed leadership characteristics. And the answer is you can interview whomever you want to interview. You may know people within friends and family that you think are exceptional leaders and far stronger leaders than people that you may work with. And that is totally believable. So there's nothing wrong with that. You get to interview whom you wish to interview. The format, I'll let you read that, but essentially further down in the course schedule, it's going to very clearly identify each week what the suggested readings are. It will clearly identify when the assignments are due, etc. Okay? The learning objectives, there are 5 for this course. So understanding key concepts and terms related to leadership in Western colonial and indigenous setting. Review. So just to take a step back, I'm of European descent, and my family came over, I don't know, 100 plus years ago. And of course, in this course, you will learn about residential schools. You will learn about the 60 Scoop. You will learn about how the Canadian federal government, with the assistance of churches and the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Force, apprehended, took children, some Indigenous children, from their homes and put them into schools, as you probably have heard. But this course will dive deeper into that. And that's what it means when it talks about Western colonial leadership. Reviewing the history of policies limiting Indigenous leadership, including residential schools and their impact. Identifying the key findings and importance of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. Analyze and respond to leadership scenarios by applying key concepts related to leadership culture, gender, and reconciliation. And finally, preparing a leadership portfolio that reflects your individual achievements, your skills and activities that have contributed to your leadership style, because all of you have leadership styles. You may not know it, and you may not think that you have acted in a leadership capacity before, but you have. I guarantee you have. It may not have been within a working position, but you certainly have done so, every single one of you. There are guidelines to this course, and these guidelines will be similar across courses. Highlighted, obviously, are extremely important. No plagiarism, no cheating. Do not use artificial intelligence. There are methods to determine if someone is cheating, and if you do get caught cheating, um, there are consequences to that, and you just don't want to be in a position like that. It's just not worth it. Um, so when you are taking information from someone else, another author, for example, from the course textbook, you need to cite it. You need to indicate where the information came from, and don't pretend or don't lie that the information came from you. Okay, so don't plagiarize. Um, Late assignments. So there are deadlines for each assignment, and uh, they're in place for a reason. Obviously, if we didn't have assignments, no one would ever hand anything in on time. So there are assignments. Every day that your assignment is late, 10% is deducted from the total grade. And while you may think that 10% is not very much, it adds up, right? Second day, third day, you're already 30% below. So if you think you're going to be submitting late, please reach out to me in advance uh, to discuss, and there is no guarantee that I can extend a deadline. In fact, really, the only students that have any flexibility with deadlines are students with accommodations. And in order to have the deadline change, the student with an accommodation needs to provide me with an accommodation letter that comes from the university. So ultimately, deadlines cannot be changed unless you are a student with an accommodation. And that's 99% of all cases. So it's important. We're September 11. There's no assignment due until the end of this month. And then we'll take a look at the other assignments that are due in the course schedule. But it is extremely important to remember that. And yes, of course, there are emergencies that occur. And, in that situation, you need to reach out to me as quickly as possible. And then it is at my discretion whether I can do anything to change the deadline. Okay. So it's just better to meet the deadline. And then we don't need to worry about seeing if we can move the deadline or not, because in some cases, well, in most cases, we can't. I can't change the deadline. So it's better to meet the deadline. I do recommend that you read through all of this. I'm not going to read it all, but the course outline, as I said, is the most important document. So you could read every single sentence. It's not a very long document. It's only 6 pages long. There's a writing resources department that can help you with writing. Students with special needs, there's a department or an office there. And then finally, well, not finally, but on this page, assessment and grading. So, of course, 100%, and the 100% reflects 2 papers that are called reflection papers, each worth 15% for a total of 30. There is a reconciliation proposal worth 15%. There is a reconciliation plan worth 25%. And finally, your portfolio, which is 30%. And your portfolio, while it is worth 30%, is a collection of the things that you've already done. Reflection papers go into it, proposal goes into it, plan goes into it, your surveys will go into it. There is a leadership statement as well, and the portfolio is not due, until December. But I'm just giving you a heads up. And there is also, off the top of my head, I think it's a 2 to 3 page essay that goes into the portfolio. But essentially, what I'm saying is that the portfolio, 80%, 80 to 90% of the work is already done. Through your proposal plan, reflection papers, etc. There's a little bit of information on each of these assignments. The reflection papers, as I said, 2 reflections, 30%. These are personal takeaways, which you've learned up to that point. The reflection paper is due. And in it, the takeaways are the point at which you're thinking about the topic has been impacted, changed, informed, challenged. Now, there are further instructions built into the course regarding each of these assignments. So don't worry, it's what you see here is not the end of the instructions because that doesn't tell you very much. So I will show you that in certain weeks where the assignment is listed, when you click on the assignment, that's where the instructions come. There is a reconciliation proposal. It's worth 15%, and it's designed to get you thinking about what your plan is going to be, right? So a proposal is taking an idea and saying, you know, this is what I'm thinking about doing. In other words, it's a proposal. And that allows me to provide you with feedback with regard to, yes, I think it's a great proposal. I think you should move forward and develop it further with increased detail in your plan. Or alternatively, proposal's okay, but you know, have you thought about this or have you thought about that? You know, one of those things. So people, students, you can always reach out to me in advance of making your proposal to run an idea by me. What is most important is taking a look at the instructions for each of these assignments in advance so that you can start thinking about what you want to do. The reconciliation or action plan is worth 25%, and this is where you apply your skills and your interests and your leadership style to what you've learned in the class to create a reconciliation event, initiative, or activity. And of course, more information to come within the week that identifies the assignment. And then finally, the portfolio is 30%, synthesizes or collects all of your submitted assignments. If you miss submitting any any one of these assignments, you get an NP, which is not fixed. So you definitely want to make sure that every single one of these assignments is submitted. And here in bold, yellow, and black, in-text citations and references following the APA writing style are required for all assignments. Course text is your primary source for citations. Other readings and viewing materials will be the secondary sources. Feel free to use other sources outside of class materials to support your arguments, but these are in addition to your primary and secondary sources. So if all of that is gobbledygook, then what you need to do is read in the first week. There is a document on APA. You can read that. And it will tell you how to cite your sources. In fact, there's also a sample paper that is included. And the whole idea behind citing your sources is you're not stealing. You're not taking information from someone else and pretending that it's yours. And that includes an idea. So if you read a book and it gives you an idea, it wasn't your idea to begin with, it was someone else's. So if you're going to use that idea in a paper, you need to give credit where credit is due. You need to cite and let me know and anyone else who's reading your paper that the idea or the quote or whatever it is, the statistic that you are presenting does not come from you, but it comes from someone else. Okay. And finally, the course schedule, which is perhaps the most important piece within the outline. It has everything that you're supposed to be doing and all of the deadlines. So week 1, no assessments. Week 2, no assessments, right? Week 3, no assessments. But under unit readings, it tells you what you're supposed to do. In week 1, it tells you to read the 93 calls to action. It tells you to read this outline, etc. Week two, well, actually, I'll just take a step back. So week one, September 4 to 8. So today is September 11th. So even if you haven't done anything, it's fine. You have time. Week one, review these things here, right? And get used to the software, navigating, moving in and out. Week two, September 9 to 15. So that's where we are now. Watch the video, owning my identity, and not too much in the way of reading of the textbook, pages 1 to 7. Okay. Even today, September 11, if you don't have your textbook, not the end of the world. If you can get your textbook, within the next week, within the next 2 weeks, I mean, you'll have to read a little bit faster to catch up. But again, it's not the end of the world. But you need to have that textbook and you need to have read some of it, preferably up to pages 45, before you write the reflection paper, which is due September 30th. Because when you submit the reflection paper, I'm going to be looking to see if you have read textbook and what you are learning from the textbook. Okay. Week three, September 16 to 22. It's got all of the things that you're supposed to read in, which is found within the week, including our shared future, pages 9 to 27. Week four, this is where you can complete your surveys. Now, ultimately, it's not the end of the world if you don't complete the surveys in week four. However, the longer you go without completing them, the less benefit they are. Because as I mentioned, one of the surveys is to assess your current idea of leadership, what it means to you, what principles and values leadership have. And if you do that survey later on, you're going to be probably mixing it up with your responses will be including not only information that you believe, but also information you will learn from the course. And that's why it's better to complete these surveys near the beginning of the course. So week four is the target. Complete those surveys. You're not submitting them. You're just completing. Okay? Week five, we've got review of leadership styles and more pages to read from the textbook. But here we are, the reflection. The very first assignment is due September 30th, which, looking on the calendar, is a Monday. So all of the assignments in this course are due on a Monday, and they're all due at 4 p.m. So lots of advance notice. No one can tell me they didn't know. Well, unless, of course, they didn't watch this video, and that's shame on them, right? So that's when the first assignment is due. We move on. Week six, you get the idea, right? It's telling you what to read, what to watch as videos. No assessment in week six. No assessment in week seven. Week eight, your reconciliation proposal is due. Again, a Monday at 4 p.m. We scroll down. Week nine, nothing due. Week 10, your plan is due on a Monday, November 12 at 4 p.m. Nothing in week 11. Week 12, your second reflection paper is due. And then week 13, between December 2nd and December 6th, this is when your final leadership portfolio you should be working on. But look at the date. It's due December 21. And that is to coincide with the final exam. You don't have an exam, of course, but the final exams of the university. So that is when that is due, December 21. Okay. So that's the course outline. This is the course schedule. Take your deadlines, put them into Outlook, put them somewhere where you stay on top of them, because there's really no flexibility on the deadlines. It is a deadline. boom, and every day after 10%, which, by the way, is very generous. I teach at other institutions, and if you miss a deadline, you get a zero. So this is generous, with a 10% being deducted every day that you miss. But if you don't miss a deadline, you don't lose anything at all, which is, as I said, the way to go. Okay, so the one thing I just wanted to mention is uh, because today's September 11th, because your first assignment isn't due until September 30th, don't fall into the trap of, oh my gosh, I have all the time in the world. I'm just going to leave all my readings, etc., till, the last week of September, and then I'll do it. Uh, I used to do that. I don't recommend it. And especially if you look at all the reading you have to do, by the time you write reflection paper one, you're supposed to be around 50 pages, 50 to 60 pages into the textbook. And that's not including all of the other reading and videos that are included from week one to week five. So there's quite a bit there that needs to be done. So if you leave it to the last minute, you're probably going to stress yourself out. It's just not worth it, which means get your hands on that textbook ASAP if you don't have it already, and start going through week one, week two, and reading that stuff, taking notes if you do that. Some students do, some students don't. Fact is that because I'm expecting you to cite in these papers, it's not a bad idea to take some notes. All right, so that's the course schedule. Let me go back to the course homepage. So this is week one, and as I was showing earlier. And if you click on APA, you'll see there's a document on APA, but there's also a sample APA paper. So take a look at that, just to have a good understanding. You know what? We'll just open it right now. Give me a second here and make sure that you can see. Okay, so this is a paper that I wrote with a team years ago, as you can see, in 2012. So right here, that is a citation. This in parentheses where it says Gallo, comma, 2011, that is a citation. And basically, let's just say for the sake of argument, I'm the one who wrote this paragraph. I don't think I was. I can't remember. So let's just say I did. So what this citation is referring to, the reason it's there is because the sentence that precedes it, the sentence that comes before the citation, again, if I'm the one who wrote this paragraph, and let's say that I was, what it means is that that sentence that is bolded that says, for instance, Branson is commonly known to promote and offer a greater number of vacation days, flex time, and paid time off than other companies. What it means is that I learned that information from Gallo. Gallo is an author, and Gallo is the one who gave me this information here. And he did it, or she did it, in a book or an article was published in 2011. So I didn't want to steal this information and pretend that it was mine by putting my name on it. So I give credit where credit is due. And I say to whoever is reading this paper, that information in yellow. What you will see is almost every paragraph in this paper has a citation. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and it's a good recommendation. Not every paragraph has to have a citation, but it's a really, really good practice to incorporate, because what it means is that you are taking information from class textbook, which is the primary source, or other sources, and you're reading it, you're understanding it, you're synthesizing it, and you're applying it to other information that you know of to then incorporate it back into a paper. That critical thinking. And therefore, as I said, it's a good recommendation. I don't want to see paragraph that has 10 citations in it. That's insane, right? And if you had, or even if you had 5 citations in one paragraph, it wouldn't be your own writing, because you would just be presenting one idea from an author and another idea from an author, et cetera. When you have paragraphs this large, you could definitely have 2, maybe 3 the most. Um, but even just having 1 citation is a really good rule to follow. All right. So those are citations. And by the way, if you ever quote word for word directly from someone else, then your citation must include a number from where you got that information. So, example, there is this sentence here, and then you have a citation right here. Well, if this sentence was taken word for word from a textbook, then there should be, right after this 2012, there should be comma page 10 or page 100 or wherever the quote came. Finally, at the end of the paper, this is where you find your references right here. Okay. So people will often mix up references and citations and they'll use them interchangeably. They're not. References come at the end of a paper, citations are found in the paper. And this is how you would place your references, and they are done alphabetically. Okay. So that's what references look like. Let's see. All right. I'll just go back to this. And here we can see week 1, right? So take the time, click on each one. Week 2, got a link, click on it. Week 3, readings, reconciliation, click on it. Week 4, surveys, readings. Week 5, here's your first assignment. So you click on reflection 1, and this is where it gives you instructions on how to write the assignment. Okay, you can see participant 60, so 60 students in the class, etc. So there you go. And that's all you got to do. So, when you have 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever, just casually go through each of these ones, week 6, week 7, week 8, just to get comfortable with navigating off of this course homepage. And if you have any questions at any point, feel free to reach out to me. But if you do that, you spend some time just navigating, you'll get very, very comfortable with everything. And that is going to work wonders when it comes to your success in the course. So that's all I wanted to talk about. It. So, it's been about half an hour. I don't want to bore you with going into anything deeper. This is what I've mentioned today are the most critical aspects of the course. And as I said, reach out anytime. I will create another video at some point. And I look forward to working with all of you and reading your papers, and hopefully you'll have an amazing experience in this course. Have a good evening. We'll talk again. Bye.